says Texas brisket. To me, it sort of evokes the grand spirit of American barbecue. If I had $1 for everyone who wrote in with a brisket problem, I could, well, if not retire, certainly buy myself a big new smoker. Brisket is the Mount Everest of barbecue. Smoke it low and slow for the right amount of time, and you feel like you're on top of the world. Rush the process or overcook the brisket, and you wind up with a mouthful of shoe leather. Today, I'm going to show you how to nail the perfect brisket for your family or for a crowd. Brisket is a fibrous flat muscle from the chest of the steer. This is a whole brisket, sometimes it's called a packer brisket, and it consists of 3 parts. The deckle, this fatty but very tasty portion on top, a flat, which is located underneath this cap of fat, and finally the point, which is located at the end. This is a trimmed brisket flat. It's what you're likely to find in the supermarket. There are 2 schools of thought about trimming brisket. I adhere to the less is more school. That is, I trim off very little fat, leave most of it on the brisket. The idea is, as the brisket cooks, the melting fat will baste the meat and keep it moist. Now the rub. In keeping with our home on the range theme, the rub starts with coffee. Then we'll add an unexpected ingredient, cocoa powder, salt, pepper, paprika, brown sugar, ground coriander, ground cumin, onion powder, and garlic powder. And I like to mix the ingredients for the rub with my fingers. That way you can break up any lumps that may be in the brown sugar. What's the deal with the coffee and cocoa? Well, they have a pleasantly earthy, bitter flavor that goes really nicely with the meat. Now, apply the rub. What you do is you just sprinkle it on top of the brisket. Do the same thing for your brisket flat, and that is apply the rub and rub it into the meat. When you smoke a lean brisket flat, I like to place it in a foil pan. That protects the bottom of the meat from the direct heat. And another way you can keep it from drying out is to drape the top with strips of bacon. Of course, this adds an extra layer of flavor. You can cook the brisket right away. If you cure it overnight with the seasonings, the flavor will be all that much richer. Let me show you the smoker. This is called a horizontal barrel smoker. It originated in Texas and Oklahoma. It's the home-size version of the big rigs the pros use on the professional barbecue circuit. Consists of 2 parts. This is the cooking chamber. And back here, this is the firebox. This is where the heat is actually generated. What you do is light a couple of chimneys of charcoal. And what you want to do is this fat head part goes closest to the flame. The smoker's a little hotter on this end than this end. And I'll put on the smaller brisket as well. So this one will be ready in about 5 hours. We'll have it for lunch. This one, about 12 hours, we'll have it for dinner. Close the smoke chamber. And the last step is to add the wood chunks. They've been soaked in water for about an hour so that they smolder rather than burn. What you want to do is add about 2 or 3 wood chunks every hour. Place them on the coals. Now, let me show you the mop sauce. A mop sauce is a bit different than a barbecue sauce. First of all, it's thin. Second of all, it contains little or no sugar. Starts with dry red wine, then orange juice, balsamic vinegar, coffee, to reinforce the coffee that was in our brisket rub, Worcestershire sauce, salt, freshly ground black pepper, and your favorite hot sauce. Whisk the ingredients together until the salt crystals dissolve. And check it out. This is our brisket after about 2 hours. So the way you use a mop sauce is you simply apply it with this tool. This is called a barbecue mop. You want to mop the meat once an hour until it's cooked. We'll continue cooking the briskets. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what a Texas brisket should look like. Looks done. You can see it's reduced in weight almost by about 40%. But the way you check for sure is use an instant read meat thermometer. Insert it into the thickest part of the brisket. You want to be at 195 degrees. Bingo, we're right on the money. Lift this bad boy to the cutting board. You never want to cut into brisket or any large roast right away. You want to let it rest for about 10 or 15 minutes. The meat will relax. It will taste much juicier. So just tent the brisket with aluminum foil to keep it warm. And here's the smaller brisket flat. I cooked it for 5 hours, took it off the smoker, and then put it back just to warm it. And here, too, you want to tent it just maybe for 5 minutes, just to let the meat rest. And to serve with the brisket, this is some jalapeno cheese cornbread that we direct grilled to toast it. And this is a red-eye barbecue sauce. Both recipes are on our website. So let's see how we did on the brisket. Once the brisket has rested, all you need to do is carve it. Remember, the grain runs this way on the brisket, so you want to carve it across the grain. I like to put the sauce on the side of the meat so you can appreciate the spice and smoke flavors first before you taste the sauce. Let's see how we did. That brisket melts in your mouth. And the funny thing about the coffee, you don't really taste it as coffee, but there's a layer of flavor that's different than a standard salt and pepper brisket. So now you know the secret of nailing the perfect brisket. I created these very quick T-bones.